There's a silence that devours you when the lights go out, and your mind finally surrenders to the weight of its own noise. It's not the kind of silence that soothes. It's the kind that hums behind your ribs like a question no one dares to answer. Beneath every practice, every ritual, every word you secretly consume, there is something older than any mantra you've ever whispered. A hunger that pulses like a hidden flame, whispering that there must be more. More than these walls, more than this body, more than the worn-out stories you were taught to swallow just to keep the ground from shaking beneath your feet. You don't say it out loud, but you feel it. This forbidden longing for something vast and nameless. Something no teacher, no book, no chant seems able to fill for long. It calls to you in dreams, in the tightness in your chest for no clear reason, in that sudden heat rising behind your eyes when a line feels like it was written only for you. You know this hunger by heart, even if you've never dared to give it a name. It's the call of the fruit they told you not to touch. The taste of knowing that maybe should stay veiled until the heart is strong enough to bear the cost. And yet, here you are again, standing at the edge of the veil, fingers almost brushing a truth that could remake you or undo you completely. And still, you lean closer, because some part of you remembers you were not born to stay blind. You were not born to swallow stories that keep your hands tied behind your own back. Hermes Trismegistus spoke of this paradox long before your soul wore this name, this face, this skin. He warned, wisdom is not power when the vessel is unprepared. Light in rushed hands does not warm, it burns. He knew that to crave the secrets of the divine without cleansing the self is to ignite a fire that consumes from within. And maybe you felt that fire more than once, the shiver of discovering a new symbol, a new technique, a hidden text that promises to lift the veil. For a moment, you feel bigger than your doubts. For one sharp breath, you brush the edge of eternity. But soon, the embers settle, the glow fades, and the hunger returns, louder than before, gnawing at that same soft spot behind your chest. And still, you keep hunting. You tell yourself you're collecting keys, that if you gather enough, some door will finally yield. But some doors do not open through force or numbers. Some doors only recognize the one who stands before them long enough for the lock to remember who knocks. Deep down, you sense the risk. What you call spiritual growth might just be another name for your hidden addiction. The thirst for transcendence that forgets the cost of carrying light in hands that still tremble. It's the same echo that made Prometheus steal fire from the gods. The same price he paid, bound in silence, devoured by what he could not contain. It's not just myth, it's a mirror. Because every time you reach for the light without tending to the shadows it reveals, a piece of you burns a little more than it heals. There is a void waiting in that space between what you know and what you truly live. A gap where sacred words lose their warmth if they never become breath, bone, a silent choice no one sees. This is where so many drift, orbiting the flame, collecting sparks, but never daring to let the fire consume what was never meant to survive. Because to let it burn is to lose the parts still clinging to old stories that keep you smaller than you were born to be. But there is a reason you're still listening now, feeling that pulse in your chest. Some part of you knows. The forbidden light does not say no forever. It waits, it tests, it demands. Not more secrets, but a heart steady enough to hold them. Not more hunger, but the courage to stand in the fire until the craving turns to clarity. So tonight, while the world hums with promises of distractions to hush your hunger, you stand on the threshold. Feel where this thirst lives in your body. Notice the tightness behind your ribs, the restlessness dancing under your skin, the way your breath catches when you imagine who you might become if you stopped running from the flame. You were never broken for wanting more. That wanting was never your fault. It was your sign. Maybe it was always meant to teach you that some fires only feed you when you stop feeding them with fear. The void does not devour you to destroy you. It consumes what you were never meant to carry through the gate. And in that silence, when all that makes noise dissolves, you remember who you were before you forgot. There is a moment, subtle and sharp, when the seeker realizes the path has split beneath their own feet. It doesn't come with thunder or grand signs. It whispers in the pause between one teaching and the next. You believe you're moving forward, going deeper, higher, more awake than yesterday. But somewhere, in the quiet layers of your mind, a shadow feeds while you gather new truths. Not every hunger is sacred. Some wear a mask so pure, you bow before it without ever seeing its cost. At first, it feels innocent, harmless even. A book here, a new ritual there, a hidden text, a whispered practice found in some forgotten corner, promising more than the last. The shiver comes quick, sweet. For one fleeting moment, you believe you've brushed against something immense. That finally you've found the answer that could fill the emptiness you carry like a second skin. But that sweetness dissolves. The spark dims, and you find yourself flipping another page, searching again, reaching for another drop of secret nectar. The mind calls it devotion, but your bones know its escape. There is a parasite that lives in the cracks of this restless seeking. It doesn't feed on silence, but on the noise you call enlightenment. It lives on your eyes jumping from page to page, on your ears hunting for new voices to repeat what your soul always knew. The parasite knows exactly how the brain lights up when it finds something new, how dopamine floods your veins when you stumble on a fresh spark of wisdom, lifted like a candle in a dark room. But that candle never holds steady. It flickers out before it warms your hands. And so, you run for another. Carl Jung gave a name to this mask, the bright archetype that dresses itself as a teacher, while it drains the lifeblood from the work that truly matters. It promises awakening, but feeds your hunger for endless stimulation. It makes you believe depth is counting how many ancient names you can recite, how many symbols you can scribble in the dark. But true depth is never about more. It's about less. Less noise, less posing, less running behind the next great secret. You feel the parasite when you stand before shelves filled with underlined books that were never lived. When your rituals stretch longer, but your chest feels tighter. When your words sound wise, but your silence trembles when you sit alone with your own shadow. You know it's there when it whispers for you to crave another initiation, another hidden door. Instead of sitting inside the emptiness that demands nothing but your honesty. Not every desire is poison, but every desire left unclaimed turns back on the one who carries it. The line between seeker and collector is presence. The seeker dives deep, stays, chews a truth until it becomes bone. The collector flits like a moth from flame to flame, never burning enough to change. The mind mistakes that flight for freedom. The soul knows it's a prison stitched from golden threads of false light. If you listen closely, you'll feel when the parasite wants to feed. It hums behind your temples when the silence feels unbearable. It pushes your hand to reach for another teaching, another scroll, another promise that you'll never feel hollow again. But that hollow is sacred. That hollow is the doorway you circle every time you feed what should have been left to starve. There is mercy in knowing this. The parasite cannot survive where you do not run. It cannot feed where you stand still long enough to feel the void without shrinking from it. And when it starves, something older wakes up behind your eyes. The part of you that remembers how to sit in the dark, needing nothing but your own steady breath. The part that knows true depth doesn't flicker like cheap light, but burns slow, quiet, hidden deep in the bone, until it becomes the only flame worth carrying through the night. Some truths echo through time, like a soft drumbeat pulsing beneath the noise of every age. The Kybalion whispers one of these truths. The all is mind. The law of mentalism weaves every thought, every flicker of belief, every silent fear into the fabric of the reality that wraps itself around you. But the mind does not create only from the words you speak. It creates from the weight of what you refuse to touch, from the pain you pretend is gone, from the void you rush to fill with borrowed light. Many repeat the law, but forget the edge it carries. They build visions, raise altars inside their heads, chant mantras like sacred codes meant to unlock hidden realms. And for a while, it works. The mind shimmers with new possibilities. Synchronicities spark like fireflies on a summer night. But if you sit still enough in that glow, you might notice something restless moving just beneath it. A hollow that, like a polished mirror, reflects back every secret fear you keep when you think no one sees. It's not that the law betrays you. It's that the mirror does not flatter. It does not bend for the stories you recite in bright rooms. It reflects what hums in the dark, the tremor behind your ribs, the doubt that maybe this hunger for more is just a beautiful disguise for the old fear that you are not enough. The mind builds from what it believes, not just from what it wishes, not just from what it shows to others. And when that belief is shaped by an unspoken emptiness, it shapes a reality that looks like a promise, but turns to dust when you bite down on it. So, the seeker grows restless. New techniques, new symbols, new layers of mystery, each one like a fragile bridge stretched over the same deep chasm they never dare to face. They tell themselves they're expanding, but the expansion is just a circle drawn wider and wider around the same hole that hums, waiting to be named. The paradox is cruel but honest. The more you chase the thrill of new revelations, the more you feed the void that hides behind them. And the mirror grows sharper, showing you not what you want to be, but what you still refuse to see. The ancients left clues for this. They never spoke of building castles in the mind, but of transmuting the hunger that makes the mind spin illusions instead of temples that endure. To manifest is not to repeat pretty words. It is not to hoard symbols like coins hidden in your pockets. It is to breathe inside the hollow, to feel the tremor without turning your face away, to remain until the hunger softens its claws and becomes a well, not a hole. This is the difference between mental noise and living wisdom. One echoes until it deafens you. The other roots itself in your pulse, changing not only what you think, but what you are. If the void stares back at you tonight, know this. It is not your enemy. It is your reflection, clear, relentless, but never cruel. It shows you where your mind clings to dreams that cannot bloom, because the soil is still waiting for your presence. The law does not lie. It cannot lie. It gives you not the world you describe in polished words, but the world your bones whisper about when the night is deep and your masks have fallen. To see the mirror is not a curse. It is an ancient mercy, a chance to stop running from the hollow and make it the fertile ground where, finally, something real can grow. There's a quiet seduction in the promise of the third eye. Somewhere along your path, you heard that just behind your forehead lives a door to a vision no ordinary eye can offer. A secret lens that could lift the veil if only you knew how to unlock it. So you collect chants, oils, crystals. You chase diets that promise to cleanse what the world has hardened. You sit beneath stars, trace ancient symbols with your breath, pray for the gate to swing open and flood you with visions too vast for words to hold. But there's a hidden trap in this chase, one few name when they speak of awakening. The pineal is not a switch to be forced. It's not a trophy for the restless seeker who mistakes flickers of light behind closed lids for true sight. This gland, this tiny crystal buried in darkness, is older than your rush for shortcuts. It listens for silence, not noise. It blooms through discipline, not obsession. It punishes the hungry mind that wants the vision, but not the stillness that lets it rise clean. When you chase the thrill of visions, the brain obeys, for a moment. Dopamine sparks. Strange colors dance behind your eyelids. You feel chosen, touched, maybe even initiated by forces unseen. But what burns too fast leaves ashes in its place. The same body that teases you with flashes betrays you with restlessness once the high fades. And so you run again. Another fast, another chant, another whispered promise that this time the eye will open for good. The emerald tablets never spoke of vision as a spectacle to be displayed. They speak of a sight that does not look outward, but cuts through. They remind you that the true third eye does not project mirages. It perceives the subtle. It lives in the pause between thoughts, in the darkness you avoid when your mind begs for more noise. This is where so many get trapped. They think they want truth, but in truth, they crave the rush. And it's that craving that keeps the eye sealed. There is an older practice, almost forgotten now, buried beneath the noise of modern mysticism. It is the ritual of darkness, the willing step into the inner cave, where your senses surrender to the silence you spend your days avoiding. Inside that cave, the pineal does not need you to pry it open. It waits for you to become still enough for its gate to reveal itself. No visions bought with anxious mind tricks. No illusions fed by chemicals that burn you out as quickly as they excite you. Just the patient blooming of a sight so steady, it no longer needs to impress you. If there's a paradox here, it's this. The pineal grants no power. It reveals what you have always been too loud to notice. It sharpens what was already there. It humbles more than it glorifies. Its prison is not made of stone. It is built from your constant grasping, your refusal to sit in the dark until the light behind your forehead remembers how to shine on its own. Some doors open only for the soul that bows before its own silence. Some visions do not come when you demand proof. They come when you finally stop needing it. And the third eye, freed from the cage of your haste, shows you the world not as you wish it to be, but as it has always been. hidden in plain sight, waiting for you to be ready enough to truly see it. Not every hunger needs to be silenced. Some carry the seed of who you could truly become, if only you know how to hold them without letting them devour you. Beneath that frantic thirst for mystical glimpses and whispered secrets, there's a raw current, a primal heat that remembers what it means to shape what has no name yet. It's the same current the ancient alchemists feared and revered, the same force that can ruin a seeker lost in craving, or crown a creator who learns to tame the fire they carry. Desire is not the enemy. Unbridled desire is. The difference is not in the wanting. It lives in what you do with what rises in your belly when no one is watching. Left loose without a master, spiritual desire swells the ego until it casts a shadow so large you start mistaking it for who you really are. It becomes an endless urge to collect the next book, the next vision, the next secret whisper hidden in some dark corner of the internet. It wears sacred words while draining from you the spine that would give any of it real form. But when you pause and face that craving, something shifts. The same force that pushes you to lose yourself can become the root that anchors you to the ground. The old texts knew this well. They never said to kill desire, but to sublimate it, to lift the fire, refine the raw, so it doesn't burn you from the ground up, but feeds you from the inside out. Transmutation is not dramatic. It doesn't make noise. It moves in small daily choices no one applauds. A deep breath drawn when the craving tightens. A pause before feeding the impulse with more noise. A quiet question. Does this wanting make me stronger, or hide what I don't want to feel? This is the true ritual, that subtle moment when you feel the heat flicker at the base of your spine, and choose, once again, not to waste it on escape, but to anchor it in something you can shape with your hands, your voice, your presence. The energy that once scattered your focus becomes pulse, words that heal, art that breathes, work that hums with presence. The same raw desire that once pulled you to the edge of secrets you could never hold becomes the iron that forges your backbone. The memory of Atlantis hangs like a warning behind it all. A civilization that bloomed by mastering hidden currents and collapsed when it forgot why those forces were kept secret. Power without limit devours its keeper. Desire without restraint tears your field open until all your brightness leaks out through the same cracks your ego won't close. But when that hunger is seen for what it truly is, sacred fuel waiting for a steady vessel, you step into a different fire. One that does not eat you from within, but cleans you. This is the forbidden key. Not to crush the will, not to run from it, but to stand before it with your spine unbent and ask it to serve something greater than itself. Every desire tamed, every restless thought breathed through instead of fed, becomes a brick in the temple you came here to remember how to build. And that temple, unlike the fleeting highs of an agitated mind, stands long after the thrill is gone. It stands because it was not built on the sand of restless craving, but on the solid ground of someone who learned to hold the fire without burning what still needs to bloom inside. Picture him. A room lit by candles melting over ancient books, pages dog-eared, margins covered in notes no one else would ever read. The shelves sag under the weight of grimoires, ancestral commentaries, forbidden manuscripts copied and recopied by hands turned to dust long ago. If you stepped into that room, you might feel envy at first. You'd think, here is someone who knows, someone who has touched truths too vast for daylight. But if you looked closer, you'd see it. The hollow behind his eyes, the tension in his shoulders as he flips page after page, hunting for a sentence to silence a hunger he doesn't know how to name. He didn't start this way. In the beginning, there was wonder, a soft stirring when he first heard that maybe the world was more than walls, wages, and nights that never truly rest a soul. The first secret was a spark in dry straw, sudden, bright, promising to burn the ordinary to ash. One book led to another. One name opened doors to other names. At night, he scribbled symbols in the margins, crossing ancient lines with prayers no one else around him dared to repeat. He felt chosen, shielded by the weight of secrets no one else would carry. But knowledge is a flame with two edges. What you don't integrate folds back onto itself like smoke in a room with no windows. One night, after years of stacking volumes, he found himself surrounded by open pages, yet unable to read a single line that touched his breath. The words blurred. The paper felt heavy. He realized he could recite invocations by heart, but feel nothing. He could draw sigils, but no longer inhabit the silence they demanded. His mind buzzed with names of spirits, portals, lost keys, but his own spirit was thinner than ever. It would sound beautiful to say the turning point came in a flash of revelation, but it was smaller than that. On a cold dawn, candles burned down to stubs. His eyes, heavy with words, landed on a single line, underlined a lifetime ago. It didn't speak of secrets. It spoke of stillness. It didn't promise power. It spoke of presence. He didn't cry out. He didn't collapse in ecstasy. He just closed the book. For the first time in years, he sat there, not reaching for another page. In that silence, something older than his questions took a breath. He saw what the books could never hold for him. The hush, where every living answer is born. He didn't burn the books. He didn't renounce the symbols. He simply laid them down, one by one, until his hands were empty enough to hold only his own breath. And from that emptiness, he chose one page, one line, one prayer, and let the rest sleep. Slowly, the mind learned to bow where it once commanded. He spoke fewer words, but each one weighed more inside his bones. The secrets didn't vanish. They deepened. They sank into his pulse, into his chest, instead of spinning like dry dust in an anxious mind. If you stepped back into that room, you'd still see the shelves lined with forbidden names. But you'd feel something else too, the warmth of a silence that no longer devours but holds. The books became companions, not chains. The grimoires echoes, not cages. What he found can't be sold, summarized, or flaunted in bold letters. It lives in the pause between thoughts, in the choice to gather less so what remains can truly live. He knows what many of the hungry do not. The final key was never hidden in ink, paper, or words. It was always waiting in the corner of him that needed the courage to finally sit with nothing but his own breath. And trust that the real gate never opens when you find the perfect page, but when you stop needing one to remember who you've always been. There's an echo that moves through every true path, no matter which hidden door first called your name. Hermes carved it into lines older than any temple. As above, so below. As within, so without. At first, it sounds simple, a phrase repeated like an amulet in dusty pages, whispered in rooms filled with incense and soft light. But it is not an amulet. It is a mirror that forgives no disguise. It is a law that doesn't care how many secrets you've gathered, if you never let them take root in the breath you carry. The hunger that brought you here was never a mistake. It is the taste of remembering, the tremor that hums beneath the noise, reminding you that what you glimpse, in lines from old texts, in images that flicker behind your eyes late at night, is real, but only if you stand still enough to live it, not just repeat it. The void doesn't punish you for wanting more. It punishes the parts that pretend to hold light while refusing the discipline that makes that light useful. Unchecked, the same hunger that could have completed you digs a hole that swallows you from the inside out. The Kybalion doesn't promise comfort. It offers no shortcuts. It whispers a pact that many hear, but few accept. The world you build mirrors the frequency of your hidden thoughts, not your loudest declarations. If there is a lie in you, the lie that you can hold sacred fire without first clearing the ashes you carry, that lie becomes the smoke that blinds you. So the real work is not another chant, another teacher, another name carved secretly on your chest. The real work is the coherence you carry in silence, the alignment that needs no witness, the discipline that humbles you before it lifts you. Coherence is the forbidden science the modern mind forgets while it chases instant revelations. It's the current that ties the pineal to the heart to the belly to the earth that bore you. You do not force the third eye to open. You remember its natural state by living in a way that doesn't insult what it is. You do not demand the void reveal its secrets. You become so honest with your own hunger that the void softens, turns itself inside out, until what seemed like absence becomes fertile dark, where something real can finally take root. Thoth's voice hums beneath this law like a quiet drumbeat. The wisdom you do not live devours the one who keeps it. The secrets you collect but never embody become parasites dressed in silk, beautiful distractions draining your strength while you pretend you've risen above the ordinary. The real initiation happens when you set down your weapons, your explanations, your endless wanting, and face the silent place within where you cannot lie, not even to comfort yourself. If you still feel that pulse beneath your ribs, be grateful for it. If the hunger burns tonight, don't wish it away too quickly. Let it prove you are not numb yet, that the flame that once made you peek behind the fragile veil of the world is still hot enough to burn away what no longer serves you. And if the void hums, let it hum. If the secrets dissolve into silence, let them dissolve. What remains when the noise is gone is not emptiness. It is womb. It is the dark place where all that must be born breathes, fed by a presence that was never for sale. There are things you were never meant to unsee, because they were never seen with your eyes. They were seen with the part of you that knows there is no final secret, only the slow returning to the truth that pulsed in your bones before any name was spoken. And if you're still here, listening as the last word lays itself down, maybe it's because you were always meant to remember. The void did not come to swallow you. It came to birth you, again and again. If you're still here, maybe it's because you were meant to remember. If this journey has resonated with your spirit, leave a silent acknowledgement in the comments. An affirmation, not for the world, but for your own soul. To continue on this journey of remembrance and awakening, we invite you to subscribe to the channel and to like this video, And remember, it is not about what you want, but about who you are.